Welcome to First Down by CoachTools, where you hear from successful coaches and the top minds in sports, with host Justin Titchenell. First Down is brought to you by CoachTools, the football player grading software that's better and faster. Today's episode is with Joe Adam. For more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe. Coach Adam is in his 8th year at Saint Anselm College, and this past season they had a fantastic year. He was just named the Northeast 10 Conference Coach of the Year. Also, was it the New England Football Writers Association Coach of the Year?
Yeah, that's correct.
To get things started, can you just share with the audience about your background and how you've ultimately gotten into your current role at St. Anselm?
Yeah, so this fall will be year 28 in college coaching, and so I've lasted a while, and I've had a lot of lessons along the way as we've put this thing together, and so I've just been really blessed to be able to coach at every level of college football that there really is. So the only one I haven't been is 1AA. So I've been an FBS assistant at 1A. In the Power Five. I've been a head coach twice now. This is Division III and Division II. I've been an assistant at this level. I've been at the junior college level. That's where I started my career. So I have a good grasp, I guess, of the ever-changing landscape of college football and where it started, and then how it's going now.
So over those past 28 years, what would you say are your top 3 lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, I would think, the top 3 things. One, very at a young age, I was really passionate about football, and so, we work 90 hours a week, and we're in this thing, but we love it. I think if you're a football coach, you're consumed by this, and your neighbors and your family may look at you like you're a little bit crazy, but every coach that I know in our profession that is in it for the long haul is consumed by it, right? They study this game, they look at the players, they look at the chess pieces, they study mental performance, and so I think number one, you have to be consumed by it, right? To be great at it, and sometimes that consumption is a little bit of a dirty word, but it really isn't, because if you're asking your players or you're asking your CEO to be great at something, it has to consume them a little bit. And so, that's probably why a lot of coaches don't have a lot of hobbies, because this is a time-consuming piece. So, 3 things I would tell any young coach is, number one, be the Philo. And what I mean by Philo, first in, last out. Okay, and that's been lost a little bit in our coaching world. It's been lost a little bit in the working world. That used to be a standard practice in a lot of businesses and a lot of coaching realms. And so I believe in hard work. I believe the early bird gets the worm. And so that doesn't mean guard your desk by any sense, but it just means, hey, get in, be the first one ready to rock and roll. And then, before you leave, ask the head coach, hey, is there anything else you need? Can we get anything else done before I head out? And so, a lot of coaches don't do that right now. And so I always did that as a young coach. And I thought that helped with my relationships. It helped with the trust that some of the older coaches had for me. And then, and that's obviously led to a great career, right, so far. So the second thing is, be be productive in your work and be organized, right? And so, there's one thing to show up to work every day and like, be scrolling the internet or scrolling the chat boards and stuff like that, but like have a specific plan about what you want to get done. So what I do in my life is I segment my day. So I have a block of time that goes to emails. I have a block of time that goes to practice planning. I have a block of time that goes to Twitter messages. And so I compartmentalize those things instead of just being scatterbrained all over the place. And that's how I keep track of, my 120 plus on my roster and my coaches, as well as the hundreds of recruits that I have in the hopper right now as we finish up this thing. So I encourage a lot of the young coaches, especially on my staff, is it's very easy to get distracted in today's world. It's very easy to get scrolling, right, on, on social media, and then all of a sudden, 20 minutes goes by and you're like, man, I didn't do anything here. So it's about being productive and and then being organized. You know what I mean? And that's something I look for in when I'm talking through new hires and guys that I'm potentially looking at to hire. And then the third thing I think is when you get into a job is make very clear to yourself, what is your expectation of success? What is your definition of success within that role? If you're a young coach and you're like, hey, I'm going to be a first time coordinator, well, hey, I want to be like this coordinator who's been doing it for 20 years. Well, or hey, I want to be the top offense in the league, but I may not have the pieces and parts to it. So you're going to set yourself up for failure by doing that. We can all have lofty goals and aspirations for sure, no doubt. But at the end of the day, like, just getting guys lined up correctly, getting guys all to practice, that might be a smaller expectation that's more realized than anything else. And so, being the first in, last out, being an organized and compartmentalizing your time, and then having a very clear and concise definition of what success is within that role and within that job for that current year.
And I think everything you just said plays hand in hand with each other. And I love the Philo thing because I'm in the same mindset that, you know, if you're a coach or if you're in business or if you're a player or whatever, the longer that you can stay focused and you can stay organized as something and just not focus on the outcome, but just focus on the process. I think the longer that you can do that, the more successful you're eventually going to become. And you're going to fail along the way, but you're going to learn from those failures. And as you continue to go and go and go and learn from your failures, eventually you're going to succeed at whatever it is that you've put out and you've planned to do. So I 100% agree with that sentiment and appreciate you sharing that.
To your point about failure, I think it's a great topic. We have been conditioned in our society to not fail. You know what I mean? And even our young players, and I would say our young coaches, they've never failed at anything, right? So they don't know they don't have the persistence built to overcome those failures and understand that there's going to be failure every day. It's a learning tool. It's a learning lesson, right? You have to learn from your failures. And so, part of our society has shielded our young people away from failure, where they always want to just, hey, I just want them to be successful all the time. Well, that's great, but that's not going to help them in the real world when adversity strikes. And, that guy isn't going to know how to overcome those pieces and parts, both from a physical and from a mental standpoint.
Yeah, and I think it, like you were saying, it all comes back to the mental. Like if you have the proper mindset, anything, and I think Thomas Edison actually said this like perfectly. Like I forget exactly what it was. I think it was WD-40, but I was reading something recently where Edison was coming up with a formula for WD-40, and they tried hundreds and hundreds of different formulas, and it continuously just didn't work, and people were criticizing him for it not working, and then eventually, obviously, it becomes WD-40. So I think that's something that nowadays is a lost art, and I think football is the perfect microcosm for life, and that's why I do this podcast, and I think it's great to have people like yourself and the coaching profession because you know every everybody that preaches this is just going to better suit another person, and I think we need more of that in for young people and just in general in society.
No doubt. And, you learn in our profession, especially you learn from the coaches that are in front of you. I've got great mentors. I mean, I have probably half a dozen mentors that have shaped me and molded me as a coach. And so a lot of those I can still reach out to, when I have questions and, I'm a lifetime learner and I'm learning things at 47 and I'm continuing to challenge myself, continuing to challenge our coaches to do things in a better manner. And so I don't believe in status quo. we had a great season last year, and I'm totally challenging and changing how we do our off season here this year because of just more research that I've done, more conversations I've had with people about what can benefit this group. And so, I always believe in keeping that variable of change as a football coach, right? And instead of just saying, well, this is kind of how we always do it. That's the fastest way to get beat in our business.
Right. And we were just talking about it earlier with, recently just talking about recent things that have happened with the Eagles and the Cowboys. And especially the Eagles. I'm a Philly guy, so I've just been watching them, and they've, for lack of a better term, it seems like they've had a problem with, adapting. And there's also been some other things going on, but I think, that's a great point, is just never to just get complacent with wherever you're at, because there's always going to be somebody else out there that's doing the work. So you have to not only stay focused, but just continuously look for ways to better shoot yourself and continue to grow and learn as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I was reminded this reading something here this weekend. The greatest college football coach that we've ever had in our current time, Nick Saban, who's done a phenomenal job and is the blueprint of success, I would say, both on and off the field, right? In a lot of different ways for some people, not everybody. Um, After his 17 years at Alabama, it took them 48 hours to replace him.
Right.
So, I always know in coaching, every job is going to begin and end at some point. And when you take a job, it's going to either end on how you want it to end or how the institution wants it to end. But at some point, it's going to end.
Right. That's a great point. So as we're wrapping up here, Coach, any last words of advice you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I just think college football is such it's such an interesting time right now with NIL, transfer portal, all these different things going on. We can't lose sight of why we got into coaching. Okay, and I was at the FCA breakfast at the convention, and it was such a great morning of fellowship with a bunch of coaches guys that I met for the first time, and so listening to Tommy Bowden about dropping the ball, and that we have dropped the ball a little bit. We've gotten away from we've gotten away from using football as a vehicle to educate people, right? To get degrees, because the degree is going to last farther than the football career. Ask anybody in the NFL, which is, I think it's like 2.7 years is the average the average NFL existence. And so, with all this transferring and stuff, we have lost sight of that. We've lost sight of the academic piece. We've lost sight of the degree piece and how important that is, and how important it is to challenge our young people to be learners and to get better. And so I don't know where this is going to finish out, but I'm always mindful of that as a coach. Don't ever forget why we got into this business, right? In this profession. And like I say, every weekend here on our visits, yes, I know it says Coach Adam on the front, but what my job is I build men with a platform of football. Okay. And I consider myself a man builder. I'm going to take the gem and I'm going to give it some grit on one side and I'm going to give it some polish on the other side. And the goal is that you shine after the 4 years that you spend with our program, so that you can shine for the next 40 years. And
Yeah,
so
I
we
love that.
can't lose sight of that. And there's so many great coaches out there in our country that are doing God's work, man, at both the high school, junior college, and all levels of really pouring into young guys and showing them the way. And
Yeah.
that's why we got into what we do.
Yes, sir. Well, I don't think you could have said it any better, Coach. Thank you. Thank you for sharing today. It was awesome speaking with you. And, best of luck as you continue with recruiting this year.
Appreciate it. Have a great day. Okay.
You as well.